You know, Abby Johnson, she thought that it wasn't that big of a deal. Do you know Abby? Some of you probably have heard her story. She was a director of a Planned Parenthood clinic in Bryan, Texas for 8 years, and she really believed that she was doing women a service by providing them with safe abortions. That was until one fateful day in September 2009 when she was asked to assist in an ultrasound-guided abortion. And so it was her job to hold that ultrasound probe on the woman's belly while the doctor, so he could see what he was doing during the abortion. And she writes about that experience. And it's sometimes hard to hear this, but I think it's important that we face what's going on. So I'm going to read her account to you. As I took the ultrasound probe in hand and adjusted the settings on the machine, I argued with myself, I don't want to be here. I don't want to take part in an abortion. No, wrong attitude. I need to psych myself up for this task. I took a deep breath and I tried to tune into the music from the radio playing softly in the background. It's a good learning experience. I've never seen an ultrasound-guided abortion before, I told myself. Maybe this will help me when I counsel women. Besides, it'll be over in just a few minutes. I could not have imagined how the next 10 minutes would shake the foundation of my values and change the course of my life. I was expecting to see what I'd seen in past ultrasounds. Usually, depending on how far along the pregnancy was and how the fetus was turned, I'd see a leg or a head or some partial image of the torso, and I'd need to maneuver a bit to get the best possible image. But this time, the image was complete. I could see the entire perfect profile of a baby. It looks just like Grace at 12 weeks, I thought, surprised remembering my very first peek at my daughter 3 years before, snuggled securely inside my womb. The image now before me looked the same, only clearer, sharper. The details startled me. I could clearly see the profile of the head, both arms, legs, and even tiny fingers and toes. Perfect. And just that quickly, the flutter of the warm memory of Grace was replaced with a surge of anxiety. What am I about to see? My stomach tightened. I don't want to see what's about to happen. 13 weeks, I heard the nurse say, taking measurements to determine the fetus's age. Okay, the doctor said, looking at me, just hold the probe in place during the procedure so I can see what I'm doing. The cool air of the exam room left me feeling chilled. My eyes still glued to the image of this perfectly formed baby, I watched as a new image entered the video screen. The cannula, a straw-shaped instrument attached to the end of a suction tube, had been inserted into the uterus and was nearing the baby's side. It looked like an invader on the screen, out of place, wrong. It just looked wrong. My heart sped up, time slowed. I didn't want to look, but I didn't want to stop looking either. I couldn't not watch. I was horrified, but fascinated at the same time, like a gawker slowing as he drives past some horrific automobile wreck, not wanting to see a mangled body, but looking all the same. My eyes flew to the patient's face. Tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. I could see she was in pain. At first, the baby didn't seem aware of the cannula. It gently probed the baby's side, and for a quick second, I felt relief. Of course, I thought. The fetus doesn't feel pain. I had reassured countless women of this as I'd been taught by Planned Parenthood. The fetal tissue feels nothing as it's removed. Get a grip, Abby. This is a simple, quick medical procedure. My head was working hard to control my responses, but I couldn't shake an inner disquiet that was quickly mounting to horror as I watched the screen. The next movement was a sudden jerk of a tiny foot as the baby started kicking, as if it were trying to move away from the probing invader. As the cannula pressed its side, the baby began struggling to turn and twist away, and it seemed clear to me that it could feel the cannula, and it didn't like what it was feeling. And then the doctor's voice broke through, startling me. "Beam me up, Scotty," he said lightheartedly to the nurse. He was telling her to turn on the suction. In an abortion, the suction isn't turned on until the doctor feels he has a cannula in just the right place. I had a sudden urge to yell, "Stop!" to shake the woman and say, "Look at what is happening to your baby. Wake up, hurry, wake up, stop them." But even as I thought those words, I looked down at my own hand holding the probe. I was one of them performing this act. My eyes shot back to the screen again. The cannula was already being rotated by the doctor, and now I could see the tiny body violently twisting with it. For the briefest moment, the baby looked as if it were being wrung like a dishcloth, twirled and squeezed, and then it crumpled and began disappearing into the cannula before my eyes. And the last thing I saw was the tiny, perfectly formed backbone sucked into the tube, and then it was gone. And the uterus was empty, totally empty. I was frozen in disbelief. I felt too stunned and shaken to move. My hand was still on the patient's belly, and I had the sense that I had just taken something away from her with that hand. I'd robbed her, and my hand started to hurt. I felt actual physical pain. And right there, standing beside the table, my hand on the weeping woman's belly, this thought came from deep inside me: never again, never again. That abortion that Abby witnessed is the most common abortion done in the United States. And whenever I recount her story, the reaction's almost always the same. It's stunned silence. But I promise you that right now in this community, there are women with babies that look like that 12-week-old baby that we saw. And they're carrying that child inside of them, and they are considering this procedure. And most of them, quite frankly, have no idea what they're about to do.